Hello, and welcome to today's webinar at Notes Code. Our topic today is on-premise versus hybrid smart cloud and how to choose which one best fits your organizational needs. Our presentation is done today by Marga Systems, specifically Raghav. We appreciate your time in preparing this webinar, and we'll turn the time over to you shortly. But first, I wanted just to remind everyone that if you do have some questions as Raghav is doing his presentation, that you can expand your GoToWebinar control panel and type in the questions in the questions section, and that way they'll be queued up for the Q&A session at the end of his slides and presentation. So that is available to you. So I do see people joining the webinar, and it's nice to see some names I don't recognize, like Debbie and David. Not sure if you've attended webinars here before, but that's great. Nice to have you. And wanted to just remind you that your attendance today does enter you into the drawing for the MW Lug trip to Atlanta in August. Or if you're the winner, you could elect to not go to the to the MW Lug in Atlanta, and instead opt for the MacPack prize, which is a MacBook Air, an Apple Watch, and an Apple TV. So that's always a nice little prize. Great. So I think that's all of the pre-webinar business I need to take care of. So I'm going to turn the time over to you, Raghav, and I appreciate your time, and I'll let you know when we see your screen.
Sure, Scott. So I believe you're able to see my screen now.
Yes, we see your screen, and now the time is all yours.
Right. Thanks, Scott. Hi, everyone who have joined the webinar. So this is Raghav, and I'm working with Marga Systems as an infrastructure lead. I have around 10 plus years of experience in Domino, same time in BlackBerry. So today I'm just presenting this webinar on smart clouds, whether it's going to be a service only or a hybrid. So what best suits your organization, whether you would like to go for an IBM SmartCloud, what is that you would like to choose? Like, is it going to be a service only cloud or a hybrid cloud? So as you can see the screen here, the agenda for today is going to be like, I'm going to give you a small introduction about IBM SmartCloud, following by the offerings of SmartCloud, and a brief about what is service-only cloud and what's a hybrid cloud, and what is Marga Systems doing along with SmartCloud, and finally the question and answer section wherein you can give in your questions and I'll be there to answer you to my best. So moving on to the first slide, Scott, can you run the poll, please?
Okay, great. We do have a few polls, so I'm going to run the first one. And first one is, how many of you are aware of IBM SmartCloud? So how many of us have never heard of it? How many of us have some idea about it? And how many of us are already a SmartCloud user? So let's see where we're at in terms of the audience. And we're over half of us have voted so far. All right. Let's get one more vote in here. Go ahead and wake up out there. One more vote, and then we'll close this off. And here we go. Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm going to display the results now. So everyone has heard of it, so that's good. 40% of the respondents say they have some idea about it, and 60% say they already are a SmartCloud user.
Okay.
Excellent.
That sounds great. Scott, thanks for that. Can you also run the second poll, Scott? I think we have one more.
Okay. Yeah, we have three. So the second one is, let me just double check which one you want me to run. There's one is, how is your current Domino setup used, and how soon are you planning to adopt SmartCloud?
Yeah, I would like you to run the first one, that is, how is your current Domino setup used?
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to run the next poll. So how is your current Domino setup used? Is it email only, applications only, or email and applications? And it looks like I did a typo, so I apologize on the last line there. All right, so over half of us have voted already. That's great. Everybody's awake this morning and we're ready to go here on the webinar. That's good. Let's get one more vote in here and we'll close this and show everyone the results. Okay. So the results are 17% of us use Domino for email only, and the rest of us use it for email and applications. So nobody's just doing applications only at the moment.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. That was really kind of you that you ran the webinar. So thanks everybody for taking part in the poll. So now let me go ahead and start a small introduction about what is IBM SmartCloud. As you can see the screen here, SmartCloud is basically an encapsulation of around 4 components that you see here. One is email, the status and files, embedded experience, communities, and social tools. So emailing, as the name goes, everybody should be aware of what is emailing over there. And status and files, we do have some embedded experience like connections that comes along with IBM SmartCloud. And that's something where you can share your files instead of going in for attachments via emails and all those options. And the next one is the embedded experience, wherein you log into the cloud, you find everything in one screen. So you have various panels on the top which shows whether you have to go to emails or you want to go to your connections community. So that's something, an embedded experience. You also have the same time embedded inside SmartCloud, as well as the meetings. So one of the biggest collaboration tools that you are finding, the challenges that you find in your day-to-day activities, that is something which you can overcome with your IBM SmartCloud, which is again an encapsulation within. And of course, communities and social tools. So something like a Facebook by IBM, very similar to that, wherein you just go ahead, create a community for yourself, for your employees, or for your managers, or for your superiors, or for the management. So you have a lot of options wherein you can like a comment, you can dislike a comment, or you can share whatever files you want. So a lot of these collaborations happens via this IBM SmartCloud. In general, as I had told you in the beginning, it's an encapsulation of all these 4 entities. So let me go on with the offerings of SmartCloud. So as I already explained, IBM SmartCloud for Business provides a variety of ways to socialize. So of course, it's email, collaboration, and online web services. So email, of course, it's pretty much obvious of what I mean by email. Collaboration, yes, same time, and of course, your meetings, these are all the collaboration tools. Of course, connections, one another component that you find within IBM SmartCloud, and the other one being online web conferencing. So a lot of these activities like the same time meetings, you can conference a call within your same time. Especially with the latest model of cloud, they give a lot of freebies wherein like you can make an audio video call as well as have an audio video conferencing call. You can push your policies to control your call making. They also give you the options of going ahead and registering for toll and toll-free numbers for you to have an online conference. So that is something which IBM SmartCloud provides. Security is incorporated in the product. So you don't need to have a specific firewall or something separate in your organization to maintain this cloud. It's all incorporated within the IBM product. So the next thing being SmartCloud for social business supports a cloud deployment model. Yeah. So this is what we're going to deal in detail today, like whether it is going to be service only and what is service only and what is hybrid model. And IBM SmartCloud for social business acceleration network. So a wonderful concept that IBM uses is you have an acceleration network technology wherein you have servers located within various different nodes. You have a wonderful load balancer in between, which actually goes ahead and routes the traffic to that particular server, which is available easily. So that's something which makes more of redundancy with IBM SmartCloud as well as with very high availability. So at any point of time, you do see that the downtime that you face in an IBM SmartCloud is almost very less. So it's almost a 99.9999% of availability that you see here. And the IBM Social Business Toolkit supports integration with business environment. Yeah, with hybrid model, wherein if you do have a hybrid technology or hybrid model of cloud in your business environment, you can always develop an individual toolkit with your specific skill sets based upon your business requirements and integrate that with cloud. That is something which is given as an add-on for you in the smart cloud offerings. So Scott, can you run the third poll, please?
Okay, we have one more poll. This one is how soon are you planning to adopt IBM SmartCloud? You're currently planning the project this quarter or next quarter, or still in the decision process, or you're not planning to use the SmartCloud? We have to get everybody reading down that long list of options there. And if you don't know for sure, how about a best guess? That way we can kind of give some feedback here. All right, we're almost at half of us have voted. Let's give us about 3 more seconds here to get to the last few votes in. All right, I'm going to share the results. So currently planning the project, 20%. Planning to implement next quarter, 20%. And still in decision process, 60%. Nice round numbers. And that's it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks a lot, Scott, for your poll again. So I do find that the poll results are something like the decision making lies with 60% of the crowd that has joined the webinar. So I believe this could be an eye-opener kind of thing for many of them to actually decide what kind of cloud you can opt for. So as a first step, let me explain to you in brief about what is service-only cloud. So basically, service-only cloud is a kind of migration of your current infrastructure to the cloud completely. So this kind of cloud is going to help you in getting rid of your internal infrastructure completely. You don't have to rely on any of your internal servers, your firewall, your SMTP servers, and these are all the things which you can avoid if you're going to go in for a service-only cloud. So as you could see in the slide, a simple migration. You have very few steps to be followed in the process of service-only cloud. When you first register for a smart cloud, it gives you the option of choosing a service-only followed by a hybrid. So once you choose a service-only cloud, you don't get the option to roll back to hybrid and vice versa. So once you go in for a service-only cloud, you have very few steps. Just go ahead and register your domain and validate your domain, and that's it. You can just go ahead and start registering your users, and they're all done. So probably a max of 1 or 2 hours is maximum that you require for you to adapt for this kind of service-only model. So once you have registered your users, you have to make sure that your domain controller is pointing to the SMTP server of cloud, and you're disabling your internal SMTP servers completely. Now, in this case, what happens is it might take some time for this SMTP server, for the A record to get replicated on all the global levels. So once that is done, it's all seamless. You share the link for your smart cloud with all your employees, give them the credentials, and they're done. They are into the cloud with an very good model wherein they find their connections, they also find their mails, they find same time meeting, everything is there. So that's how it sounds pretty simple in migration. And of course, on-premise infrastructure independent, which means like most of your infrastructure that you are having within your organization, you can bring it down. Like you can decommission them. You don't require any of the domino servers. Yes, of course, you might require them for certain purposes because your old mails still stay back in your current infrastructure. That's wherein your on-premise infrastructure will still be useful. So you can have one of the servers. So you, for example, if you have around 3 or 4 mail servers, you can very well make in such a way that you have one particular server that has all the mail files and you enable that for user access, whereas the rest 3 servers, you can just decommission them completely. So it is pretty much on-premise infrastructure independent, simple in maintenance. You don't have to maintain anything in such service-only cloud because it's all taken care by IBM. Be it the maintenance of mail files or the servers, be it the server restart or whatever it is, you literally don't have to do anything physically from your end. It's taken care by IBM completely. Increased quota. One of the biggest challenges that we find in day-to-day world today is the storage. So you keep adding up your hard disk, upgrading your on-premise servers because you keep increasing your quota. No problem, no matter whatever you try to implement policies like archiving policy or the mail quota policy, you can still see that users still shoot up a lot in their quota. Thus, it gives us a lot of challenges for the administrator to go ahead and control the environment. That's wherein IBM SmartCloud plays a very fantastic role, wherein they give you a minimum mail file size of around about 2 GB, 3 GB. That's pretty much big for the amount of views that we try to do. And high availability and redundancy. You don't require an on-call person during weekends to actually take care of your servers here because it's IBM that is going to take care of all these things. No need to worry about cluster, no need to worry about your load balancing. So these are all the things that is taken care by IBM with their networking tools over there. Easy license management, of course, yes, like you really don't have to pinch in your pockets over there, wherein you might have to procure licenses or go in for core reductions or make sure that your infrastructure is well within your core. So these are all the things which you can get rid of completely. You just have to subscribe to IBM Cloud. You require it, you just contact the salesperson again from IBM and he increases your license and you're billed directly. So this is something that you can find about the service-only cloud. So, of course, yes, when you have so many advantages one side, there are a few limitations which needs to be mentioned over here. So, incapability to add subdomains, yes, this has always been a question whenever we go in for a migration from your on-premise to a cloud environment. So you do have a domain like abc.com and you would still like to have the same domain when you're moving over to your cloud. Unfortunately, you have to make sure that your MX records that is currently pointing to your local SMTP is completely shut down. It is pointing to the cloud SMTP. So wherein it gives you a limitation wherein you can't use any of your local email addresses or your local infrastructure that already has a domain abc.com for the mails to be routed to the cloud. So there you have a limitation wherein the entire domain needs to be migrated to cloud. And your local domain, especially with respect to mailing, it just sticks on to the cloud alone. You have nothing to control on the local. And of course, adding up a subdomain, so you want to have abc.com and you want to add something like an alias name in your person document in cloud, that's something which is not possible because in service only cloud, you hardly have any access to your names.nsf. So no matter whatever you try to register, any number of users you try to register, you can just find their mail file name, their common name, their internet address, and the mail file path. So there is no control on the person document, wherein you can't add any of the aliases. So that gives you an limitation wherein you can't create a subdomain, neither can you add an short name or anything specific wherein you would like to retain anything of your old credentials. So what I mean here is you have to just go ahead and migrate your current domino domain into the cloud rather than adding a subdomain separately inside a cloud where there is a limitation. And no control or access on cloud. As I mentioned to you, the basic access of even running a console command or a maintenance command on cloud is completely restricted. You have absolutely nil access on your cloud servers. Policy restrictions, you can't push any policies on cloud environment. You do have some default policies in your cloud management portal, wherein you can try to push or have the default policies enabled for all the users. There is no way wherein you can create a group, assign an explicit policy, or assign an organization policy. These are all big time restrictions that you have, or the limitations that you find in service only cloud. And completely decommission old infrastructure. Yeah, almost yes, because none of your current infrastructure is going to communicate specifically with your with your cloud environment. So that's one of the restrictions that you find in case of service only. Restrictions in administration capability. So as I had mentioned to you, like you get a call or a ticket from your employees stating that they have issues in going ahead and accessing a mail file, or they have issues in accessing the design of the mail file, or they get some strange errors. So these are all the things where you can't even go and troubleshoot on the server level because you don't have any access on them. So DB creation restrictions, yes, like you can't migrate your mailing databases on cloud. It's going to be an specific license. So in case of Domino, if I have to be more specific, if you're going to have an on-premise infrastructure, we normally go ahead and save our licenses by creating a shared mailbox or a generic mailbox, so that you can save the number of user licenses that is actually there in case of person document. That is something and restriction in case of service only cloud. You can't do that. Every every shared mailbox that you would like to have in your cloud environment is going to be an individual user. So that's something and big limitation that you have in service only cloud. Applications cannot be migrated. Yes, of course. So none of your on-premise applications, if you have a lot of workflows, you follow a lot of workflows within your organization, and you want to migrate them to cloud for usage, that's not going to be possible, unfortunately, because it's an entity. A service only cloud is an entity within itself. It is not open for integrations, or it is not open for any sort of communications with your internal infrastructure. So this is something about service only cloud limitations. So typically there might be a question now, like who would be the right people to move to service only cloud? So typically people with small business, startups, or entrepreneurs who have a very negligible budget on infra. Those are the people who can normally go in for service only cloud, because it gives them an encapsulated feature of a lot of things. So it serves the purpose of mailing online meetings, or online collaboration tools like same time, chat, or meetings, or making conference call, or whatever it is. So that's something the best option for them. People with the small business can opt in for service only cloud. Nil custom applications, so which is in fact very much correlated to the first point. So as a small business, you won't have much of applications in place, or you might not be following a lot of workflows like dependency on complex workflow and apps. So if you're just running your business and you need only the mail, and you don't have any customized applications, neither you follow any Domino specific workflows or applications, you can go in for a service only kind of cloud. And of course, adding on to the fourth point, mail only environment. And the fifth point being startups looking for simple mailing and collaboration tools. So as I told you in the beginning itself, like if you're just looking for a simple mailing and collaboration tools without much investment on the infrastructure, yeah, that's service only cloud is going to be a good answer for this one. So looking into the diagrammatic representation of how the service only cloud works, you can see that you have the browser or the nodes client, which a user is going to go ahead and use it from his computer. So he can also use his mobile device as well as his traveler devices. which in fact goes and hits the network load balancer within the cloud, which is the yellow zone or the DMZ zone of the network load balancer. From where on, it goes and distributes the load, whether it is for a mail server, depending if the user is trying to access it via his browser and nodes client, or it's going to be to the BlackBerry Enterprise server or the Lotus Notes Traveler if he's trying to use it via mobile device or his tabs or iPhones or whichever simpler device he's trying to use. So this is a typical diagrammatic representation that has very simple feature of how you're going to access your IBM cloud using any of these devices. Pretty much user-friendly, provides almost very good scalability wherein you can go ahead and use it with your mobile device or tabs or your BlackBerry. So you have the option of assigning whichever service you want to your users. So IBM does provide a lot of options, like you want to go in for connections or file sharing, or you would like to have Traveler, you would like to have BlackBerry. So based upon your environment, you can decide on what could be given for your users and have a seamless migration to service-only cloud. So this is about the service-only cloud's a simple diagrammatic representation. So let's try to have a brief look on what is hybrid-only cloud. So if I look into the actuals of hybrid-only cloud, it's something like it depends on the existing Domino environment, because a lot of this could be done via an indirect access to your cloud environment. If you are asking me how is it's going to be possible, because the next point does answer, we are going to have a pass-through server requirement over here. So obviously, like most of the people, since you're aware of what is Domino, or you have been using mail or your Domino client, there is something a concept of pass-through server. So it acts like a middleman between my current infrastructure and my cloud environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to point all of my infrastructure, the current infrastructure within my organization, to the pass-through server, and in turn I'm going to point the pass-through server to my IBM cloud. So in this way, we make a channel for us to communicate between our current existing environment to the cloud environment. So that is the concept of pass-through server. Literally, users don't have any control on pass-through server, or they don't need to access anything via pass-through server unless and until there is some set of specifics, like I need to keep a part of my mail file on cloud and a part of my mail file on-premise. That's wherein we might have to do a bit of pass-through server configurations for the user as well. Or else it's basically to just replicate the settings of your current Domino environment to the cloud environment. So that's the concept of pass-through server over here. So need careful planning, yeah. So when it comes to integration tools, so if you have a lot of application-based Domino environment wherein you use a lot of workflow specifically, then yes, you need to have a lot of planning to be done. You need to develop a few plugins wherein that might help you in speaking with the pass-through server and then with the Domino environment on the cloud, and vice versa. So you need to spend a considerable amount of time to make sure that you have these integration tools in place before even you think about a hybrid environment. Partial control on cloud, yeah, it doesn't give you a full control. It's going to be a partial control. So it's something like I can replicate around 40 to 50%. I think even 50 sounds a big number. 30 to 40% of your settings from your current environment to your cloud environment. So that's the reason why I would say it's a partial control on cloud. So you can go ahead and apply for policies. That's one of the biggest advantages, because most of the organization would still like to stick on to their current policies. You might have a lot of archive policies, or you might have a lot of desktop policies, or setup policies, or configuration policies. That's something you can still keep them in place, although you migrate to cloud. So that's something, an advantage of hybrid cloud. So you can mirror. So the concept of mirroring is something used vastly in case of hybrid cloud environment, wherein if I need to change a setting on the cloud environment based upon my users usage over here, I can make the changes on that particular server. I'll just replicate that on the pass-through server, which will be mirrored similarly to my cloud server. So this is how it works. So that's the concept of mirroring that we are trying to bring in over here. So you can still make use of few things of your on-premise infrastructure. As I told you, like you might have invested a lot on the SMTP server or on the iron port servers or any of your, the Cisco routers or something like that, wherein you're trying to maintain a very well organized spam filter within your organization. That is something you can still utilize in case of this environment, because when you're going for a hybrid setup, a lot of options get opens up in your hybrid console, wherein you can specify the SMTP server you would like to use. If you would like to still go ahead with your local SMTP server, you can still mention that over there. Or if you'd like to go ahead with the iron port servers which you're using for spam filtering, you can still utilize them. Sorry, or you can, if you would like to use any of the AD tools or the LDAP tools specifically, you can still go ahead and utilize them by integrating them with a pass-through server. And you can still make use of your custom applications. You literally don't have to shut down your shared mailbox or migrate them from your local on-premise servers to the cloud completely. You can maintain a part of your infrastructure within your organization, and something that you think doesn't require this current infrastructure, you can just migrate them to cloud. So you can decide upon your usage as to what kind of migrations you would like to have. So most of your custom applications are saved in this case. You can still, if you have customized program which routes email to users' emails, email clients, or to their internet addresses, or to have multiple domains or something like that, it's always possible using a pass-through server. A typical example wherein you would like to have a subdomain created when you're trying to go in for a hybrid cloud, you can have the main domain within your current infrastructure, and you can still go ahead and have a subdomain created for your hybrid cloud. And there is always an option for you to add the short name, wherein you can add the user's new internet address into the short name field, and you can mirror it to your cloud so that people are receiving mails without any issues. So there is no need for them to intimate their vendors or their users that their email address has changed. So these are all the complexities that you can overcome in case of a hybrid cloud. So the limitations, yes, of course, there's no direct control on cloud. It is something like you have a partial control wherein you can just go ahead and replicate a few of your policies or a few of your settings, but not the exact infrastructure that you're trying to maintain over here. So it's not going to give you anything direct on the cloud. So you will not be able to log into your cloud environment as such. Like, for example, you hit Control O and you give your server name, or you're able to access the names.nsf. No, that's not going to be possible yet. So you don't have any direct control on the cloud still. Only policies can be mirrored, yes. Any specific policies that you're trying to use, only those things can be mirrored over there. So you want a server setting to be changed completely, that's not going to be possible. You can't do that, in fact. Or you will not have rights to restrict certain tasks that runs within the cloud server. So you would like to restrict an agent manager, say for example, on your cloud environment. That is something which you can't control by going ahead and mirroring via the pass-through server. You have limitations of even mirroring those settings. So policies are the most prevalent things which you can go ahead and mirror. So customizations of templates, yes, of course, be it a service-only cloud or a hybrid cloud. If you are going to have a customized template, you need to get approval from IBM before even you go ahead and roll it out in your cloud environment. So if I have a customized mail file template for my organization, and you would still like to continue with that one, you need to get an approval, send the template to IBM, get the approval from them, and once they approve your template, that's when you can go ahead and load it into the cloud. So of course, without a pass-through server, nothing is going to work over here. So if you're going to do something sans your pass-through server, then of course, service-only cloud is the best solution for you. You cannot migrate any of the applications again. As I was telling, like, you can still have them on-premise, but still make them communicate with your cloud. So that is something that you can do in case of hybrid cloud. As such, you can't remove the application from your on-premise servers and place them in cloud. That is a restriction which can't be done in case of a hybrid cloud. So if you'd like to look for who can go in for such a kind of setup, yeah, if you are having your own data center setup, you have your own set of servers and a lot of customized applications, a lot of workflows and procedures, yes, of course, then you can go ahead and choose a hybrid cloud. That's the best solution for you. So carry on-premise collaboration tools. So if you'd like to have your own same-time server, your own Traveler, your BlackBerry, or your meeting tools, you can still go ahead and use them, because you always have the option of pointing your hybrid-only cloud to your on-premise collaboration tool servers or Traveler or BlackBerry servers. So having decisive SMTP and routing policies, and as I told you, like, you have invested something big on your iron ports, or where McAfee or semantic mail routing policies, or for your anti-spams, and you really don't wish to bring them down completely, you can always use or use your on-premise SMTP and routing policies. Complex customized applications. As I've already told you, there is always a limitation of moving your applications to cloud. So you have a lot of complex customized applications. You would still like to use on-premise? Yes, of course. You can still go in for a hybrid cloud, because there is always a possibility that you can modify your complex customized applications to communicate with the hybrid cloud and still route emails without any issues. So there might be a lot of workflows wherein you raise a request in one of the customized databases. A link has to go to the supervisor or the manager for him to approve. So if it is a service-only cloud, you don't have the possibility of communicating with the cloud. Whereas in this case, you can still go ahead and use your customized applications and make it to communicate with your hybrid cloud. So a typical setup of a hybrid-only cloud, you can see that most of your on-premise environment is not disturbed in this case. You have your reverse proxy, big IP, your NRPC mail hub, your mail server clusters, your browser or nodes client. They all seem to be the same. Even you have the directory sync server. So which is a typical example of an LDAP server or an Active Directory server for an SSO concept that you're using with your environment. You just have to map them with your pass-through server. So you do find that you have customer pass-through 1 server, pass-through 2 server, and you also set up your replication hub server with other domino servers. So what normally happens in this case is that the pass-through server literally goes ahead and replicates with the customer's pass-through server. So you have one server as your pass-through server, which in turn has a replication hub which is pointing to the cloud. So you can point your pass-through server to go ahead and replicate with your customer replication hub server, which in turn will replicate with your actual domino server, whichever is pointing. So that's the basic advantage. You can see that most of your local or infrastructure is undisturbed in this case. And you just need the pass-through server. So you always require the domino administrators to make sure that they are well aware of what are all the policies they have, what they need to replicate, what they need to mirror, what they need to restrict. That is something. So you need a good domino administrator to make sure that he has the right settings and configuration to the pass-through server. So this is a brief about your hybrid cloud environment. So always when you go in for a new technology, like whenever we have a new technology in the industry, it's something like you always have a pros and cons attached to that one. So since Marga literally has tried our hands-on to get onto the cloud, So a few of the pros and cons that we have observed and something that we would like to highlight in this case is something like the process being like manageability is pretty much easy, yeah. Wherein if you would like to get rid completely of an complete infrastructure team, like you have a very huge infrastructure team wherein you literally don't find much of capabilities or much of work for them. There is always a possibility, like the smart cloud option is always a good, the service only cloud option, wherein you can very well differentiate the kind of tasks that you have within your admins and you can manage them easily. So most of the dominant admin's task is reduced in this case, and it's more something of the IBM's part. Cost effective, you save a lot on licenses. So when you have an OS client, you do know the complexities, like you need to have and design a client license separately. Apart from that, you need to have a user license separately, which is something we can get rid of, because all these comes free of cost when you're going to go and subscribe for cloud. So the dependency on the DOM admin gets reduced, and encapsulated collab tools, as I had already shown you in various in my earlier slides, that you have your same time, you have your Traveler, you have your BlackBerry, everything encapsulated within the cloud service that you're taking in. And high redundancy and failover, there is no risk of your servers going down. So at any point of time, you don't complain that you lost your emails, or there's something like you're not able to route your emails. So there is something you have that you always have your Domino servers up and running. You don't have a VIP who's coming back and telling like, oh, my server is down, I'm not able to access them. So that is something you can get rid of. So you can thwart the huge of, so the data centers, disk spaces, even if you're going in for an hybrid setup, there is a lot you can do in consolidating your data centers. If you have 4 or 5 data centers, you can shrink the size of your data centers to 1 or 2, and most of your applications you can still move to your hybrid cloud or your service only cloud. So this in fact acts as a big time cost saver for an organization in many ways, be it in case of data centers or even disk spaces, because that becomes the biggest challenge for any of the administrators to maintain disk spaces. So that is something which you can avoid, or that's biggest advantage in the smart cloud migrations. So the cons: increased IBM dependency. Yes, because as I have iterated in the second point, like most of the issues require some PMR. So if I face some issue within my environment, even if it is going to be a calendar issue, even if that's going to be a small design issue within my mail file, that is something which I can't troubleshoot. So previously in your on-premise environment, you always have a Domino admin going ahead and replacing or refreshing a design or running some maintenance commands on the server, which is not the case in case of the cloud migration once it is done. You always need IBM's help. You always go ahead and raise an PMR for them, and you need to give them the inputs of what is the issue. So that's a typical environment wherein you require more and more of dependency on the OEM rather than you controlling it all by yourselves. Limited integration facilities. Yes, like although you have a pass-through server, a lot of collaboration servers, like a few concepts like LEI, Lotus Notes Enterprise Integration. These are all the things which is not going to help you in case of integrating with Smart Cloud. They are not going to be speaking. So you need to have a lot of thinking behind it. You need to have a lot of process behind it. What kind of plugin you need, on what platform you need, because certain platforms would be supported, certain platforms will not be supported. So these are all the things. So which again requires an IBM's interference. So limited migration facilities. So quicker to connections. It's always, it is just one of the examples that we are trying to cite out over here. So if you have other tools like Yammer, or you have Quicker, so which are all a part of, especially Quicker being a part of an IBM tool itself, wherein you can find that you will not be able to migrate them as it is. So if I'm going to have my Quicker tree in a different, in a kind of structure, I have my Quicker modelized in such a way that I have a separate space for my employees, or separate file sharing for my managers, or something like that. That is something you can't have the same tree to connections. The plugin is still not available. So you have to adapt completely for a new technology like connections, or even if you have an connections on premise, it's not possible for you to just carry out the settings as such. You need to have a separate set of tools for doing it. So the migration facilities are pretty much limited. You can't just take one of the files, put it in the cloud environment, restart the server, and you get back all the settings. That's not going to be possible. So that is the limited migration facilities. Customization options, as I had told you, you can't customize the way you want. There are limited options that you have in there. If you are typically going for a hybrid environment, you can still code a few things. You can do a few Java plugins or plugins on a different platform and still try to put it on the hybrid environment and customize a few things. Whereas in service only, you don't have even this option. You can't customize anything specifically. Backup solutioning, a big challenge. Yes, you might always have enjoyed a good backup solutioning from your on-premise servers. You have various tools which backs up your mail files automatically, but in case of cloud, unfortunately, they don't give you that. So you lose your mail file, then you lose your data, it's all gone. So you need to make sure that the only backup solutioning is that you create a local copy of your mail file and you store them intact so that you don't lose them. So this is the only option that you find in one of the biggest cons in case of cloud. And when you're trying to raise a PMR for any of your other Domino servers, especially when you're trying to move for a smart cloud environment, the two and service only cloud, you lose your support for other Domino products. So if you still host a few of your Domino servers within inside, you don't get the support from IBM the way you were getting earlier, no matter whatever version you're carrying with, be it 9 or 8 or 8.5, whatever it is. So that is something, a biggest con that you still look in this case. So the entire dependency on IBM varies, and the way you raise your PMR with IBM and the way they try to troubleshoot is everything with respect to cloud and nothing specific to any of your Domino products. So Marga and IBM Connection Smart Cloud. So we are Marga, as Scott had already introduced us, like we have our presence in India, US and Middle East, and so we do have a lot of customers, and we are basically an IBM Premier Partner, wherein we are a development company with a lot of web XPages technologies and also into nodes workflow automations, and currently we are also doing a lot about Domino infrastructure support. We have a good around about 70 consultants with strong Domino technology skills. So we are pretty much aligned with most of the ISO and CMMI quality frameworks, and most of our administrators as well as the developers are pretty much knowledgeable about the technology that they're trying to support, and they're giving support to various clients of us. So recently we have done the migration towards our cloud. We were initially a complete on-premise Domino environment, and we have moved to service-only cloud. And we do a good part of consultation services on them, and also give good advice on how to go ahead and move towards cloud. So if you're planning a framework of moving to cloud, you're always welcome to contact us, and you can always reach us on margasystems.com, or you can reach our sales team at sales@margasystems.com, and we'll be there to help you and give us our advice and help in getting them done. So I'm just done with my presentations. Moving on to the final part. If you have any questions on any one of them, you may feel free to ask, and I'm here to help you to my best.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Raghav. We do have a couple of questions queued up. So just a reminder to everyone, if you do have a question about the Smart Cloud, this might be a great independent voice to ask. So we do have some questions, and the first one is how big of an issue is e-discovery in the Smart Cloud? Are there limitations with e-discovery?
Okay, so e-discovery in the sense, are you specifically speaking about finding all by yourselves about Smart Cloud, or where is that they're trying to mention about e-discovery? Can I get some clarity on that one, please?
Okay, I'll wait for some clarity on that. So, I'll wait for some clarity. I'll ask the next question. Um, okay, actually, the clarification is coming in. So, for example, in e-discovery, if lawyers need to find emails from a certain user, um, are there issues with the e-discovery working or the ability to do e-discovery in the cloud, in the smart cloud?
No, unfortunately, that's going to be an issue with the smart cloud, because there is no way that you can actually go ahead and have an e-discovery in the smart cloud environment. So as I told you, there is a limitation with e-discovery. So that is something we can go in for a hybrid kind of solutioning, wherein you can still go ahead and try to integrate and try to find out solutions and getting this e-discovery done.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
If you have a custom server add-in task, can this be moved to the smart cloud via the pass-through server, or is that still a limitation?
Yes, of course. We are hybrid. You can still move it. And of course, add-in task, we ourselves have done it. So if you have a custom add-in task, which is compatible with the smart cloud, with due approval from IBM, you can very well go ahead and load it and you can use them. It's not a problem.
Okay, perfect. Next question. Let me just give a quick read over this one. The long one. Okay, two parts to this question. Have there been any major changes in the hybrid smart cloud offering or environment over the last couple of years?
Scott, to be specific, like what kind of changes are they asking about? Like,
this particular person,
something specific?
Yeah, this particular question comes from a person who hasn't really been looking into smart cloud for the last couple of years. So now they're coming back to it. So they're wanting to know what have been the major changes that may or may not make it more appealing.
Okay, because we need to understand what kind of environment they have. So there's no major changes as such the adoption is concerned. So it all depends on the way that we are trying to migrate our environment. So if it is something like you have specific tools that needs to be moved to smart cloud hybrid environment, that is still a restriction. So if you have a lot of on-premise tools, or if you're using a lot of custom tools which you still would like to use in the hybrid environment, because of which you have been restricting yourself, then yes, that is still a restriction, because you can't push everything as such to your hybrid environment. So
Right.
the limitation factor still remains with smart cloud. There's no changes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, and it looks like we've addressed their question, so that's perfect. Thank you for that question, by the way. All right, right. I think a lot of this has been, very in depth and very straightforward. So we're not getting a lot of questions in because you defined everything so well. I'm not a smart cloud expert, and I pretty much think I could tell people what to do now or what they couldn't do. So that was very, very well done. So let's
Thanks.
do a last call for questions. I think the biggest concern for people is really hey, how do we get control of our data, e-discovery, how do we run applications? And that's all kind of still a big issue. All right. Okay, so yeah, I think we've covered all the questions that everyone wants to answer or have answered. Raghav, thank you very much for your time in doing this webinar. It's very informative. And just as a reminder to everyone, we did record this. We will get a link out to you probably in the next day or two so that you can share it with colleagues or others that you might be working with so they can see the same information. And Raghav, I'll give you the last word and thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone, for your time, and you all have a nice evening.
All right. Take care, everybody.